Hi, I'm Jimbo Paris, and you are listening to The Jimbo Paris Show. All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Hello, everyone. Jimbo Paris here. Welcome back to The Jimbo Paris Show. Today we have another guest, Dan Hegerich. He is a founder of the Heroic Public Health Benefits. He sort of is very focused on empowering people who are dealing with cancer. He is practically a warrior. He has survived cancer numerous times, and he's overcome a lot of adversity in those types of areas. And through that alone, I think he deserves a lot of respect. And I personally want to know more about his story and, speak to him a bit.
Yes. Hi, Jimbo.
How's it going, man?
It's going terrific. And I have to compliment your staff because your team is so accurate and so concise, and everything was timely and smooth. And Gladys was great on the pre-interview. We had a great connection. So I think you're blessed, and I was blessed that you have a great team. And the next thing I wanted to clarify, I didn't found Heroic Public Benefits Corporation. That's Brian Johnson's work. And Brian Johnson is the founder and CEO. And I study with Brian. Brian is one of my coaches. So he's someone I've admired and I look up to and aspire to be very similar to Brian. So people could look it up on Heroic Public Benefits Company. I myself have Absolute Health and Healing, and I've just launched just today. It's a great day. I just launched my new website. So today is a great day.
Definitely it is. It is. So if we were to kind of speak about this through that perspective, can you kind of give me a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're about, what your message is overall? Because I want the audience to kind of know more about you as a person.
That's a great loaded question. I think one of the things I can describe it as my personality and my character is who I am, right? What I am in spirit is different than who I am in personality or character. But I think what you're alluding to is who am I in personality and character? And I'm sort of a goofy guy that has a sense of humor, has an awesome perspective on life. I appreciate beauty and excellence. Perhaps that's why I was throwing you guys a compliment, because those guys were working in a very excellent caliber. I also have a love for learning. Like there's a part of me that just loves learning to a fault, maybe, because it winds up making me spread myself thin across different forms of learning, different information, let's say. And so that could be a vice on some kind. And then the last thing is I love teamwork and team play. I love doing what we're doing. I love being a part of a team. And, we could think of that at the larger scale as the team humanity. As the large scale, that we're on this team to hopefully what I do is specializing in hope, helping other people to evolve into their true authentic selves and true authentic nature. And that's what hope is for me. And so my story of having to transcend or rise above is a better word, rise above a terminal cancer that I had 6 times. I lived that journey, hope, helping me to evolve. And that's what cancer really was about for me. And we can get into some of the nitty-gritty details about that journey and experience. But in general, what I'd like to share as a message of hope is that you can become a warrior for your own wellness, and you can actually be the hero of your own journey. And unfortunately, no one else is going to be your hero in any direct sense. They might be indirectly, like Brian Johnson, as I mentioned earlier. He's a hero of mine, and so isn't Grandmaster Fu or various other people that have come across in my life to help shape me. But really, it was me making those choices. And so we could dive in a little bit deeper about what the experience of cancer was for me, and how I'd like to make a difference in the perception of that illness, so that people can become more empowered to navigate their journey back to optimal wellness.
Yeah. Please go on. Go on about your perception.
Okay, so it really came down to a question. So when I was 28 years old, that was in 1994, I was really, really sick. Now, as a background, I was following the American dream. I got a good education as a civil engineer, came out, had a decent job. I checked off the box for a beautiful wife, and we got our first home, and I'm following this script to have kids and start, planning for retirement. At 25, I'm like planning the end of my life almost. And so it was sort of a trap. And then at 28, I wound up in the office of an oncologist in Boston, there to find out what's my diagnosis, what's my prognosis of why I am so sick. And the doctor had a question. The first words he shared with me were, Dan, how did such a young man such as yourself get into the business of cancer? Now, that's a powerful question, because I turned it inward. And again, love for learning. My mind actually went to answer that question. And that's what we're all about. So in a nutshell, I was living an ignorant and arrogant life. I didn't know the things that I was doing was harming me. And I was doing things that I know were harming me. So I was ignorant. Okay, perfect. Common humanity. We all have blind spots, and we all don't know certain things. The arrogant part was I was a cocky son of a bitch, insecure, didn't have great emotional literacy, and I was a victim of life. I was disempowered. And that was mostly unconscious in some regards. But then if I looked at my behaviors was expressing that with alcohol, with drugs, with any coping things to cope with that pain that is unresolved. Even actively engaged in contact sports could be an expression of that anger, to take that anger out on another person, or that unresolved stuff. So, and then how I manipulated the world, especially women, to get what I wanted, because that's really what we were taught to do, is to manipulate the world to get what we want outside of ourselves, because that's what we deem as success and happiness. Is the man who has the most toys wins, or the man that dies with the most toys wins. And conquering the asphalt jungle is sort of this idea that that's our success, or the hedonic pleasure pain cycle. Just always chase pleasure. And that leaves you on the rat race, because you can never satisfy it. It's always, what's the next pleasure? What's the next pleasure? What's the next pleasure? So that question was my life syllabus, that if I could answer that question truly and completely, then I could save my soul and help a lot of people along the way. So here's the short answer. Cancer is not a disease. It's an expression of the disease. And so what does that mean? Cancer is not a disease. Well, I know on one side of the coin, people have been taught and have subscribed and adopted that belief that cancer is a disease, and it's true for them. It's real for them. But on this plane of living, we live in duality. And so when you make a statement, the opposite statement must also be upheld in some regards in order for the two to exist. Happiness and unhappiness, right? And so if someone says cancer is a disease, I came into the perception, what if cancer is not a disease? And I'll look at it differently, wouldn't I? In other words, if you said cancer is a disease, you're going to look at it in a certain way. You're going to bring some sort of conscious light to it, or unconscious light to it in the medical world. But then if you look at it from cancer is not a disease, you get to pull back and you get to say, hey, I'm experiencing cancer. It's not that I have it. It's not an object in my life like a car. And if I don't like the car, I can just sell it and get another one. It's not an object. Cancer is a process. So you can't just take it away as though it's an object. You're really missing the boat already. So if you look at cancer as a disease and you subscribe to that, that means you had nothing to do with it. And it's happening to you. So you're a victim of it, and you submit yourself. You're a patient, you become a patient, and you submit your health to someone else. That's disempowering. But if you actually look at it as cancer is not a disease, it's an expression of the disease. Now I'm looking at it, it's happening for me to grow, for me to evolve, for me to be empowered and become empowered, for me to jump on the heroic path of living a more noble and virtuous life of self-mastery, wisdom, love, and courage, and all the other various virtues that we can express. So this is where my process for the last 20-something years has been distilling down this message that I think humanity could use, because it applies to all chronic degenerative diseases. That the body is not failing a person, it's you are failing your own body by not knowing, living an ignorant life, or you know that there's some things you could be doing that are, or you could stop doing certain things that are not in your optimal best interest. This is a fact when I work with individuals. There's definitely something they know they're not supposed to be doing, but they do it out of their own arrogance, their own hatred for life. It's an unconscious hatred. It's a subconscious hatred for life. You and I, our life, this body temple houses our lives. So to respect and honor that is to respect and honor life. So cancer taught me a lot, and it was a painful process of awakening and taking responsibility for that. Because if you want more freedom in your life, you're going to have to take more personal responsibility, because that's the price you got to pay for freedom.
You know, it's always the same overarching theme. The funny part is I've had other coaches and influencers who are very focused on empowerment. And always the same theme with empowerment is about, first of all, taking responsibility for one's life. And I like that you're pushing this theme. And I want to get a bit more deeper, because I remember you mentioning love. And I think, what I want to know is, like, what kind of encouraged you to start your company? What made you love building this business, or more so getting into this business of cancer, as the doctors?
So really, when you get on that heroic path, you're always going to try and not try, you're going to live so that I could answer that question to save my own soul, so I could help a lot of other people. In other words, there's always this theme that when you are on purpose and mission driven, it's always about other people. Okay. And so I was emptied, right? So I was fully emptied. And in that emptyingness, I had to love life for life itself, because I was empty of everything else. So I just had to be grateful for life itself. Nothing else could actually fill that. Nothing outside of me could fill that. Now, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy the physical reality. I love the physical reality, and that's probably partly why I'm still here. But now it's all about helping other people to evolve. It's helping people to break free from that internal emotional bondage, or that belief system that's self-limiting them from really activating their own soul force so that they can live out their own highest potential in this lifetime. And we all yearn for that, based on the fact that we want other people to operate at their best for us, whether it's your auto mechanic or you're going to a concert, you want your favorite artist to perform at their best. And we aspire, we feel inspired by them. But that's because inside we want to cultivate that and experience that for ourselves. But when we project it outside of ourselves, now we're a victim. Okay, now we're saying, I can't do it, only they can. And that's the heart set and the mindset. So when I say love, that's setting your heart's desires as the leader. And my heart's desire was, man, I want to make a contribution to the eradication of chronic degenerative disease as part of the human experience on this planet. Why? Because we can. It's that simple. We can. We've created a way of living and a way of life for everybody that creates disease, dysfunction, and delusion. So it's what Garbamate writes about in The Myth of Normal. We're bathing in an insane culture. And so cancer is a normal expression to abnormal conditions. So we have to shift it. And it only starts with me and you, Jimbo. That's the only place it starts. It starts with me. And then I have to find people that are interested in it because, not everyone's interested in that. Everyone's just interested in the next shiny toy or the next vacation, hedonic, all inclusive, as much as you can eat and drink, vacations and, bar room on Thursday and Friday night, hangover on Sunday, get ready for work on Monday and go through that hamster wheel. And we've lost our nobility to life. So I can't think of a better thing to do than to help someone else become. Actually, what I like to say is there's two really great experiences I have as a human being. One, doing something you didn't think you could do. Would you agree that that's a pretty good experience?
Yes. Yeah.
Thinking I had a terminal cancer at 28, at 12 months, blah, blah, blah. And thinking I could reverse that after 6 years of medicine and divorce and loss of identity and all kinds of stressors and psychiatric wards and, one attempt at a gun club to end the pain. Now, here's the interesting thing. What does it take someone to bottom out and lift up and say, wait, let's give life a shot. Let's give God a shot. Let's give love a shot, the love for life. Let's give becoming more in integrity with my character of my true heart, which is to be generous, to be kind, to be considerate, to be empathetic, to be compassionate, to be encouraging, like encourage other people's success, lift them up, lift people up in some way. And my life has been taking that on more and more slowly and slowly as I become stronger within my true self. When you become stronger in your true heart, then there seems to be a force that acts on your behalf as well. And the universe sort of moves towards you and provides you with the people, places, and things that is necessary to carry out that heroic quest, so to speak, to make a difference in the world rather than complaining about it.
I think you covered that question very well. And kind of to move on to the next area here, it's going to be discussing more along the lines of relationships, especially between you as sort of this business owner and your customers, or maybe you're a heroic performance life coach. So maybe you as a coach and your clients. So what do you believe should be the relationship between a health coach and the client?
I think there's two things. One, authenticity. So I have to be authentically myself. I don't have to perform a role for that person. It's not a performance. It's just me being myself and using the skills and tools that I have created and developed and learned through my life experiences and professional training. So first, just for me to show up in integrity with that and to be authentic and transparent. And allowing the other individual, which I like to kind of call them either a student or a player. So if I'm a coach, you're playing the game of life. So I'm here to coach you how to play better. I also am a teacher. So if I'm a teacher, you have to be a student of what I have to share. So the relationship should be one of mutual respect and one that I see that person is a hero inside in the making. In other words, I don't see them as a victim of anything. I see them as endowed with the power to make a choice to create the reality that they want to see in the world and to become who they really want to be. And I have to hold that really strong, that they're a hero. If they're in my office, if they're calling me, they're already a hero, to be honest. All right. And if they come in my office, they're already heroic. It's not the big picture. It's the very micro little things that people are doing Now, I'll give you an example for the listeners. I had a client was referred to me by a real internationally well-known man that couldn't handle his case because he was too busy. She said, go see Dan Hegerich. He calls me, goes, yeah, I have problems with my heart. I'm going, all right, what's the problem? It's like, I'm not sure, but this man just referred me to you, and he said you might be able to clear it. And I said, okay, well, let's check it out. Your blood's pumping through your heart. You made the phone call. Are you out of breath? Are you dizzy? No, none of these things. All right, well, emotionally, you just reached out and called me. Yeah, that's true. Well, then your heart's in the right place because you're reaching out for help. Reaching out for help is love. Reaching out for help is an expression of self-mastery and encouragement and courage. So your emotional heart seems to be perfectly okay right now. What I'm thinking is that your ego is thinking you should be somewhere along the road that you're not. So I'm going to say you have a problem with identifying with your ego rather than identifying with the heart, that your heart set that brought you to me, that brought you to that other man and reaching out for help. That is the heart of the matter, is identifying with that part of yourself. That's the hero. But you're trapped in the egoic sense of self, and that's not just you, it's culturally. It's programmed in from culture, society, and family traditions. So we got a lot bigger thing to break down. So I did an intensive weekend with him. He paid me very well. He flew out to San Diego where I was living, and we did 3 days of conscious breath work and my style of coaching. And after that point, we did a few more sessions. He hired me to go to his family and do his whole family around the intent of love in family. So we had 4 family members that we did a whole weekend session. And then after that, he was on his own and he wrote 3 books. He produced CDs. He flew, he blossomed. Right. So the relationship is one of mutual respect for our authenticity, but also that we're not a victim, that we are creators. We can create. In fact, I believe we create our own problems so we can prove that we can create solutions on how to survive them, how to strive beyond them, and thrive. So it just depends on where the person is at.
And why do you think health and healing coaches are important in this day and age? And what do you think you can do that perhaps maybe a doctor would not be able to do? And maybe I'm not going to necessarily say we don't need doctors, but I'm saying more so, how can you complement what a doctor is doing?
Well, I think the doctor's disempowering people. Again, you know what the word patient means. What's the word patient? What does it mean? What's the etymology of that word? It's to submit. Now, the word doctor used to be teacher of life, to prevent illness, teacher of life, teacher of how to live. If you go to your doctor's office, you get 3 to 6 minutes with your doctor, and they're just looking for a symptom that they could prescribe something. They're not teaching you anything about what's going on in your life. They don't ask any questions about how's your spirituality, how's your religion, who's your mentor, who's your heroes, is it safe where you're living? How's your relationship with money and finance? How's your relationship with, they don't go into anything about life. Very rarely, and they can't get paid for it. So the difference is that we empower people to take back their well-being and become teachers of life and how to optimally live, so that you can close the gap between who you are and who you're capable of being in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. And if a person has been so subscribed to that particular allopathic model, you kind of have to break that model down, because it's really, they're vulnerable now because they don't know how to start taking care of themselves. And we start with health. So health is of the body. So we teach the fundamentals of the body, meaning how to nourish yourself, meaning what are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you fasting? Are you intermittent fasting? Are you breathing okay? What's your respiratory system like? Circulatory, are you moving your body so that the lymphatic system flows and the blood circulation flows, the cerebral spinal fluid is being pumped throughout the brain and nerves? So we have to take a look at the fundamentals. How are you sleeping? What's your sleep cycle? Are you out of rhythm with nature based on your sleeping? Because you need life force, Jimbo. You need life force to carry out your heart's desires or any desire. You need life force. Now, if you can activate that life force and cultivate it and build it up, and then find out to apply that to what's important to you, and then to focus that consistently on a regular basis, now you start to become unstoppable. Right? But people are malnourished based on the food industry. The food industry is the largest drug pushers in the world. And what they do is they push you into the medical model. Because people don't have to eat pharmaceuticals, they have to eat food. And so you eat shitty food that's out there in the offerings of the industrial food system and the processed food industry and the restaurant industry, the fast food industry. And that makes a person malnourished. And then that malnourishment pushes you into a doctor's office. So reversing that means let's take a look at what you're eating. And to be honest, food is the number one coping strategy for our emotional distress. It's totally the first thing. And it's highly addictive. I mean, they have scientists, neuroscientists that make those foods to target your dopamine center, your serotonin center, any of the oxytocin, any of those centers to get you addicted. Fast, too. Right? And so why? Because every business wants repeat business and they want loyal customers. The medical model is the same. You know, the medical model is established on profit. So medical model wants loyal customers and they want repeat business. That doesn't mean the individual is like that. It just means that's the way the business model is set up. Right? And so as a heroic performance life coach, the goal is to get you off the training wheels. So you're riding your own bike and flying.
So, taking all of that into account, what would an ideal healthy lifestyle look like from your perspective?
Okay. So first, it starts with awareness. So the first healthy thing a person has to do is you have to understand that you need to become aware. You need to become aware of your situation and accept it fully and completely and forgive yourself and others, because there's no one to blame, because there's no end to the blame game. It can go generationally. So you can't blame anyone. You can only start now and take responsibility for yourself by bringing awareness and realize you have the power of choice. Okay. But so that's the start of a healthy lifestyle. The second one is knowing that essentially food, fasting, and fitness is the key. Food, we feed ourselves, but then you have to fast. Our genes and genetic makeup is designed not to eat. Why? Because when you're not eating, that's when you're healing. But if you're constantly feeding yourself, then what's happening is you're not giving the body any ample time to go into the healing phase. We really should be eating, I should say this, we should be fasting more than we eat. So I'm on target this year to do almost 150 days of fasting.
Wow. And is this a dry fast or a water fast?
It's water. It's water, and then there can be some juices for people. I mean, there's ways to put training wheels on and crutches to let the metabolic system or the mitochondria and the insulin response and blood sugar levels and everything to get on board to be able to shift from this carbohydrate, sugar burning, stress burning metabolism over to fat burning metabolism, which is where your healing starts to take place. And a lot of people are very poor at the efficiency of that conversion and flexibility. So we have to practice it. It's another form of what do I want to say? It's a life skill training. And our genes, our genetic makeup is looking for it, because that's how we can help repair our DNA without viruses. Viruses help repair DNA, but they can be very hard on a body that's unhealthy. So then the next part is sleep. Well, I said food, fasting, and fitness. So you have to exercise. You have to move. Movement is key. We are designed to move. We're like alternators charging our batteries. Every cell is a battery in our body. And when we move, we charge the battery. But you have to know how to move. We've been taught how to move by building a big bicep, or getting a sexy bottom, or getting a six-pack. That's not movement. That's what we've been taught on the hedonic pathway, to look sexy on the outside, but empty on the inside. So it doesn't mean aesthetics aren't important. It just means that when you make it your focal point and your sense of self-esteem is based on that, you're going to lose that battle.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and now we have a lot of young people, women and men, with body dysmorphia. Why can't I look like that on social media? And then you don't know what they're doing in the background. They could be pumping a ton of drugs. They could be doing so many different things, or Photoshop, something,
Yes,
So
yes. Surgery, anything to try and fit into a model that's actually insane. It's not natural. If I wanted to give an overarching philosophy that I was using and came up with, was you have to learn to live more in accordance with nature's laws. We are nature. So you have to live more in accordance with nature's laws. Therefore, you have to put nature in you. So whole foods. I mean, your food does not need a label. It doesn't need a label. So you don't have to read labels. So just get rid of anything that has a label on it as best you can. Doesn't mean I'm not going to dip in there, but you don't need a label on real food. And the second thing is, in terms of a real practical thing, is just eat 3 meals a day. Don't snack. That's a start for most people, because it can be up to 15 times a day that they're just licking, eating, drinking, some sort of cappuccino with all kinds of heavy syrups in them. So that's a beverage. That you think that's a beverage. That's a food. You're eating. That's a meal. You're eating. So eat 3 times a day. Get to bed earlier. Get up earlier. There is a saying: early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Why? Because that's nature's law for human beings. One of nature's laws. Okay, and so that's not a hard concept, but it's difficult in its application because of our conditioning and our social structure and our culture. And so then, therefore, it's going to be even harder and requires way more self-mastery, self-discipline, and self-control if you want to be well and optimally well. But the more people like us that might do it, Jimbo, the easier it becomes, because then society will turn around and change.
Interesting. And sort of, just to ask this now, we're going to go into more of priorities as a whole. How have your priorities changed since you've become a CEO, since you've sort of overcame your battles with cancer? So I think beforehand I was asking more so about what you were trying to do to have an ideal life. But now I want to know, what are the priorities underneath that ideal, even more than just health, as health overall as a human being?
Well, there's three areas of life that human beings are concerned about. Am I healthy? Am I wealthy? And am I loving?
Mhm.
You could say, do I have the energy to carry out what I want to do in my work so I could be more productive, efficiently, and effectively? And do I have the life force in my work life in order so that I can actually be more connected intimately to myself, to others, to God, to nature? And so the priority becomes, who am I at my best in my energy? What are the things that I need to do to be at my best? Right? in my energy. Well, I need a good night's sleep. That's not that's not a heavy priority. I need to move my body. That's me. That's like me. I need to move my body. So I do a lot of mobility training. I do zone 2 training for aerobic conditioning. Then I challenge that with zone 4 and 5, anaerobic threshold, lactic acid thresholds. So various things that I'm throwing out there, people can Google and look up if they want to see what that means, zone training. And that's absolutely necessary for people with cancer or people that want to actually prevent cancer or any metabolic disorders or diseases from metabolic disorders. Then you take a look at my work. What do I need to do? Who do I need to be so I can be optimal in my work? Well, first I need my life force, so I better get those things under order. So I have a protocol: cold shower in the morning. Then I do some yoga techniques for intestinal purification called Neoli Kriya Yoga. I get upside down on a handstand. I do several other things. And then I go into my mobility training. And then I start my morning with reading from the Tao Te Ching or some other Stoic philosophy. I have a protocol that gets me in alignment. It's kind of like this. It's like if I was an athlete and I was playing the Super Bowl tomorrow, what would I do tonight? Would I play video games till 3 a.m? Probably not. Probably not. I'd probably want to relax, do some deep breathing, journal, get my mind and heart set right, let go of the outcome of the game so I could focus on what's really important. What's my job? Can I do that job really well? Then when I wake up in the morning, am I going to have, chocolate cake for breakfast and a bagel and, a double-sized latte? No, that wouldn't put me in the best position for my teammates or myself. So, Jimbo, every single day we are blessed. We are blessed that we're here, and it's a Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl. You might want to think about preparing for the Super Bowl tomorrow. We're performing. We're performing in the Super Bowl. And you know what? The opponent is our culture and society against us. Not in any direct sense. It's sort of, you understand what I'm saying. You go out the door and you want to stop drinking coffee. There's a coffee shop on every corner reminding you, here's the crack house. It's on every corner.
Yeah, caffeine is essentially a legal drug if you think about it. It really is.
All you have to do is give it up and see how much of a drug it is. Doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means, are you a master of it? Do you have mastery over it, or are you enslaved by it? And if you're enslaved by it, that's not freedom, and that's not love. Love is freedom, but you have to pay a price for that freedom, which is personal responsibility.
And I think another question I have for you is sort of, when it comes to success in life, how do you kind of define success as a person? And how do you sort of help yourself as well as your clients find that success too?
Success is doing what you didn't think you could do and doing it. Because it's not what you did, it's the process of growth that has to happen within you to make that happen. So it's the process of growth that defines success at the end of your life, because no one can take that way. And we focus on the externals, like how many houses do you have? That's success. That's not success. The success is the internal part of us that has to grow in our character. Some people will say you could see a successful man by how he treats the weakest person on their team, or the most fragile. You could say success is the king is successful who creates the most kings in the world. Empowered people, essentially. A successful king is someone who provides and protects and preserves peace. So how do you bring that how do I bring that into my work? How do I bring that into every interaction I have with everybody on the planet? starts with me internally, meditation, aligning to my true heart. My true heart is love. My true heart is love for myself, my body, temple, my love for nature, my love for humanity, and my love for God. It's 4 basic loves. And I have to align with that. And the best way to align with that is in my actions. Love is a verb, not a noun. It's not a word. It's not something I say. It's something I do. It's who I am at the core. And so success is an individual thing. It doesn't mean you can't have both monetary success. Because why? Because then you can actually become more creative in your heart set, what your heart's set on, and really influence the changes that you want to see in the world. So money is not the issue, or financial resources is not the issue. How do I go about receiving based on what I'm offering as a service or a product to society? Remember, wealth is not money. Money is an expression of your wealth. Your wealth is your creative imagination to bring in a product or service to humanity that affects humanity in a positive way. That's your wealth, and it's unlimited. Your wealth is unlimited. That's what they say. Your wealth is unlimited. Now, if you could take an idea, product, and service and bring it into tangible reality where someone values it, and you do that quickly, then you're pretty freaking wealthy. So we don't focus on the end result. Michael Jordan said, he didn't focus on becoming a wealthy basketball player. He just said, I wanted to be the best basketball player I could be. Why? Because I loved the game. My heart's in it. And when his heart was in it, he got his mindset around it. So if you can love life for life itself and get your heart around that, you can get your mindset to be successful.
Okay. So when we talk about success and the mindset, what do you think once someone has acquired that success, what quality of life should they ideally have?
I think they have the freedom to just create the life they want to live. I don't think there's any rules. I don't think there's any, this is the way. I think the way is, this is my way. What's yours, Jimbo? And can I respect both of those as a piece of the whole, as an expression of the whole? And can I celebrate you for your success? Irregardless if it's not in my personal agenda or biasness, why does that matter? As long as you're bringing the nobility of your own heart, why do I care if you have a nice Harley Davidson and a motorcycle that you love to ride? Why do I care? I'll give an example. I remember I was really wounded, and it was in the year 2005. So here I am about 40 years old, and I'm in San Diego, and a guy pulls up in a brand new, beautiful looking Corvette, and it was pleasing to my eyes, but my judgments of that guy got in the way. I'm like, fuck, who's he to think he can do this and that? And I caught myself with awareness, and I said, wait, that's not who I'm becoming. That's not who I am. Shut up. That's ridiculous. So I got out of the car and I went over to him. He was getting out of the car and I said, look, I got to tell you something. I have to be honest. This car is really pleasing to me. It's really cool. It looks awesome. It's not that I want to have one. It just looks cool. It looks like fun. Would you be willing to tell me, what do you do for a living that'll afford you to be able to have this car? And it comes to find out, by lifting my ignorance and arrogance, he loves cars. He could care less about anything else in the world. He's been a car guy since he was a teenager. My heart opened up, right? My heart opened up, and I'm like, that's awesome. That means I get permission. If I give him permission to follow what he loves in his life, that gives me permission. So what is that one thing in my life? I like hi-fi audio to play really cool music and listen to music. I have no problem if I want to drop $10,000 on a pair of speakers. Why? I take people in so that they can listen to real high quality music on a stereo that they're not going to purchase. It's not their thing. And if I got a friend of mine that has a sports car, I get to go on a ride with him in his sports car and enjoy his success. But we all know that our heart's in it, and that we don't see someone on the street and we say, "Ha, you're not worthy of a cup of coffee or a handshake or a hug." That's not successful in the heart. I always, when a homeless person comes up to me, the first thing they do, hey, do you have any change? I'm like, you don't want change, you want transformation. And I turned to him, I said, look, would you do me a favor and tell me what events in your life have caused you to ask me for money? And they break down almost all the time. They break down because there was something that happened to them in their life that they didn't have the life skill or the cultural and social structure to support them as a human being. And really what they want initially is connection, for someone to see them underneath. And so usually then I say, why do you want change? Well, I want to, get something to eat. I said, why don't you ask for something to eat? Because it leads me to believe you want drugs and to keep yourself grounded. I'm not willing to support you in that way. I'm willing to go buy you food because food will support you. And it opens my heart to these people. It's amazing. It feels great to connect with them, not as though I'm better, but as though they have potential.
Okay. So I think the next thing I want to do is I kind of want to showcase now your website and just kind of run through the website, to the audience, let them understand how to navigate it so they could just start using your content and kind of learning more about you and kind of maybe becoming your next client.
Well, thank you for that. So that's it right there. Be a warrior for your wellness. Stop worrying about your problems. WORRY. Don't worry about your problems because you need to become a hero. You need to become a warrior for your wellness. And so people can actually sign up and get a 30-minute free consultation for us to have a conversation. It starts with a dialogue. Who are you? And who am I that I can help you? How can I help you? And then from that position, we can establish what is the best path that we need to start to undertake for your warrior to wake up and take back your health. Now, this is a process, okay? And so we set it up that we have some goals that we might set up, but then we have to focus on the moment to moment things that are in your control that you can do. And know that it's going to be messy. Success is messy. It's not a linear thing. It's not like I do this and I'm successful. There's always setbacks and obstacles, and how you attack those obstacles, how you navigate those obstacles and setbacks is the warrior, right? And so people can actually go and they can take a look. I have the method. The method is through a process, what I call is you got to get back to your heart set. You got to get back to the heart of the matter. And we do that through the fundamentals. Eating, moving, breathing, sleeping, focusing, prospering. And I have a formula. I have a framework that I follow, which is the elements of healing, which is we are nature. Remember, said health is of the body. And in order to do that, you have to live more in accordance with nature's laws. Well, we are the earth, the water, the air, and the fire. So your digestive system has to get worked on, your circulatory system, your respiratory system, and then your circadian rhythm and your nervous system, or what we call nervous system and hormonal system, is your regenerative cycle to regenerate. Then healing is of the mind and heart. So you have to get your mind wrapped around things in love, and rest makes it all work. As I said, feeding yourself is one thing, but fasting is where you heal. That's called rest. You don't build muscle by exercise. You build muscle when you recover, correct? Right. Exercise breaks you down. Guess what? When you eat, guess what that process is? It's called breaking down. Doesn't build you up. Not only your body, but your spirit gets built up on fasting. And so those are the 7 elements. Yeah, those are the 7 elements. You have to learn to live more in accordance with nature's laws and your true, authentic nature as a good human being, as a great human being, as potentially an awesome human being, a hero in the making.
Okay, so about that authentic nature then, what advice would you give to anyone listening now on how to sort of be their best self, to sort of improve themselves so that they could be ready to maybe work with you as a life coach?
So one way is to go inside into some stillness and silence and to think about, who do you admire? What person do you admire? Who is it, and what is the characteristic traits and the integrity that they carry that you admire? Because that's the stuff you want to cultivate within you. Right? So I absolutely love people who put out excellence in their craftsmanship. That's why I could say that Corvette was so pleasing to my eye, because I could see the craftsmanship that goes into that and the attention to details. The same thing I could say about my hi-fi stereo system and equipment. I appreciate that. So how do I become that? How do I celebrate that in other people? How do I look for that in other people? I appreciate your beauty. I'm going to appreciate the fact that, if a woman show them, hey, wow, those accessories really match. I appreciate that in you. You really have a knack for, beauty and excellence. So cultivating that within ourselves by seeing it in others as though that's what we want to become, rather than, I can't do it, so I'll just I'll live through someone else's life, right? I'll live my life through somebody else. No, cultivate that for yourself, dude. If you want to be a great basketball player, cultivate that for yourself. Get your heroes on the wall, right? Who do you admire? And then try to get those characteristic traits. If you want to learn more about your own characteristic traits, you can go to something that's called the VIA character.org. And that'll give you an assessment, essentially, of your top virtues that you can exercise in life. And if you want to add more to that, you could read the book Flourish by Martin Selman. Flourish, because that's what we're here to do. Everybody wants to be happy and flourishing and free and, wild, natural, and free. So let's learn how to do that together, starting with me and you. And that's a daily thing, Jimbo. It's not like, oh, today I'm successful and it's over. I got to start again. I got to earn my right to live tomorrow. I got to earn my food tomorrow. I got to do it all over.
All right.
So I hope people can take something away, and that if they want to have a talk with me or a conversation, they can go to my website. And if they want, they can also check out my podcast, Do the Cure, which CURE is an acronym, C.U.R.E. I do that to protect me from the powers to be, that I'm not offering a cure in any sense of the ways, but I give people the philosophical framework that they can start to put into practice in any way they want to create their ideal life. I can't create your life or your miracle. That's not my job. My job is to bring the best out of someone so that they can create their own best version of themselves. I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be you. I don't, and if there's some things you want to do that I do, that's great, but that's not what I'm here to do. I don't want to influence you that way. I want you to become the best version of yourself, and you already have that. You're the best expert of yourself. Let's work together to be the hero of your own journey.
So I think, again, this has been an amazing interview. Thank you for showing up here. Check check it out. Do the Cure podcast by Daniel. Again, excellent interview. Check out his website. Look at everything there. We're just going to do a quick shout outs here. So, check out, our YouTube channel, subscribe now. We also have a great affiliate partner, Judy Ryan. She's an HR superstar helping out many businesses. We also have our Ko-fi. Please donate to us. Continue to help fund us. We have a Roku channel. Check that out as well. This will also be on Roku TV eventually. And also, if you want to start your own podcast, our free course is out now, teaching you how to start your own podcast. So look at that too. So you could get your own podcast up and running for free. And yeah, thank you. I'm Jimbo Paris. This is the Jimbo Paris Show. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Jimbo Paris Show.